I was sitting in the last row at Seacliff Manor, hoping the ivory walls could swallow me whole. Weddings are supposed to be loud with joy. Mine started loud with whispers. Then a woman in a navy jumpsuit leaned in and said very calmly, "You look like you need rescuing." That was Lila Brooks' tablet in one hand, earpiece in the other, eyes that did not flinch at headlines or numbers. "Walk with me, smile at nothing, pretend you're with me," she said. And just like that, the phones lowered. The gawkers blinked, and I felt air hit my lungs for the first time all afternoon. We moved through the manor like we'd rehearsed it, Lila asking if the uplights were too blue, if the vegetarian count matched the list, if I could hold her tablet while she fixed a dying mic, and every time someone drifted our way with that "I know you" look, she drifted too smooth as a cue from backstage, and the moment dissolved. She never asked what I did, never said my last name like a password. She treated me like a person, and the staff like partners. The chef got a thank you. The violinist got water. Great Aunt May got a chair with a perfect sight line and a plate she didn't have to ask for. We laughed when the flower girl dropped petals, then tried to pick them back up in reverse like the world had a rewind button. "You're good at this," Lila said, when I caught a falling centerpiece one-handed. "Logistics," I said, keeping it vague. Because vague had kept me safe, my life is basically logistics. When the quartet eased into a slow standard, she tipped her head toward the dance floor. "Till," pretending she asked, "led the way," I said, surprising both of us, and for the first time in 2 years, I danced without flashes, without performance, just lavender and vanilla, and her hand resting at the back of my neck like it belonged there. "Why were you sitting alone?" she asked, voice low enough to belong only to me. I could have lied. Said crowds make me shy, said I'm bad at small talk. Instead, I told the smaller truth. People aren't always what they seem. I don't always tell the full story until I know what someone wants. She didn't flinch. "Fair," she said, "but I'm not your past. I'm working a wedding, my agenda is timing, and a cake that doesn't lean." And we laughed, and for a second, I almost said my real last name. Then my assistant Jenna swept through in a blur of tulle and happiness, hugged us both and whispered, "Emily," like the universe had just connected 2 wires. The next morning, Harbor City glittered like a promise and a threat. I ignored 17 missed calls about a deal and walked into Dockside Beans because Lila had texted. She had 2 mugs waiting black for me, caramel for her, a blueberry scone split like a handshake. And we talked like teammates. The mic that tried to die and didn't, the ring bearer who fell asleep face down at the head table, and no one moved him because even adults love mercy. Her phone buzzed. Her face changed. "Say that again," she told the caller, then hung up and rubbed her temple. "Corporate anniversary party. This Friday, 200 guests, caterer and florist, just canceled in the same breath. I should have stayed out, you know what I mean? Mind my lane, but I made 3 calls in 30 minutes. The Monarch's chef owed me bluefinch. Floral owed me twice, they said yes. They always say yes to that voice, and when I told her, her eyes widened, then narrowed, an entire essay flickering in that space. "You've got real connections, Adrian," she said slowly, "like not just LinkedIn connections." "I consult," I said. "I know people," and before she could push, my assistant called about the Lang merger, lighting itself on fire. "Go," Lila said. "Save whatever needs saving." "I'll cover the deposits," I told her on reflex. "I'll pay you back," she said. I don't like owing people I don't really know, and that landed like a pin finding a balloon. Friday dressed itself like a test. The Riverside Pavilion glowed candles in low glass linens, breathing in the AC, those blue finch roses acting like they grew there by accident. Lila was all focus in black clipboard under her arm, eyes everywhere. "You clean up well," she said without looking at me. which somehow stung worse than being ignored. "You too," I said to the air. We worked the room because professionals can move mountains while their hearts crack. Victor Lang found us near the bar and shook Lila's hand, like he admired a storm, then turned to me. "And you are," he asked with that isn't casual, Adrian, I said. "Friend Adrian," what he pressed. And that's the thing about being looked at by a man who reads the business pages for sport. He notices bone structure, headlines, patterns, hail. I said too fast, too late. His eyebrows rose like curtains. "Hail, as in Hale Atlas Group," he said. Lila's head snapped, a curl fell loose, the band got too loud, the air got thin. "Excuse us," she told Victor with a smile that wasn't a smile, and pulled me behind a forest of rented ficus like we were about to be grounded. "You lied," she said, "not theatrical, just precise. You stood beside me at a wedding, pretending to be a guy with a few helpful contacts. When you're the Rolodex that runs this city, I left out details," I said, hating the sound of it, the second it left my mouth. "I didn't want to watch your eyes change." "You didn't give me the chance to decide," she answered. "You chose control over trust. And there it was, the indictment that actually fit." We finished the event like grown-ups smiled, thanked vendors, wrapped cables, tipped staff, and stood under bad fluorescent lights in the garage like a scene that knows it's the midpoint and not the end. "Tomorrow is the Children's Hospital fundraiser," she said. "I'm working it. If we're going to see if any of this is real, I need to watch you in your world. There will be cameras," I warned. "There always are," she said. "The question is what kind of man you are when they show up." The Meridian Ballroom lives for nights like that. The air tastes like money, trying to look invisible. Heads turned when we walked in, and a reporter cut across the room with a smile that smelled like blood. "Hail your companion. This is Lila Brooks," I said, "one of the best coordinators in Harbor City. She's working tonight." It was a gentle redirect. "Define her by her work so the room respects her, not consumes her." She shot me a look that said she noticed. We shook hands, smiled, moved on, and every conversation bent around the gravitational pull of my name. "This is what it's like, isn't it?" she murmured, when we caught a quiet corner. "Every room leans toward you. On a bad night." I tried to joke, yeah, that happened then. I went and lifted my bidder number on a Tuscany villa, like an idiot trying to make generosity look like affection. Lila's fingers pressed my wrist. "Don't do that for me," she said, and I lowered my hand. Because she was right, I bought a scholarship lot instead, and the room clapped like it meant it on the drive back. She stared out the window like the city could answer. "What I couldn't at her door," she said, "I need time." And when it finally clicked, that there isn't a grand gesture big enough to fix a breach you created to avoid being seen, I slept like a man who had just admitted he was lost. 4 mornings later, she walked into my office, took in the view and the art, and the desk that might have its own zip code, and sat like the couch had teeth. "I came to say no," she said, "not because you're rich, because you're guarded. You like the version of us where you don't have to be vulnerable." I wanted to argue, but sometimes the kindest thing you can do to the truth is let it finish. You need to figure out who you are without the armor. And if you do it for yourself, not for me, maybe call me. But don't report your progress like a quarterly. When the door closed, the city looked like glass. I had built an empire so tall I forgot how to climb down. 3 months is a long time when you stop pretending you're fine. I sat in a therapist's office and practiced sentences that didn't manage the room. I delegated decisions because control was my drug, and I needed sobriety. That looked like trust on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I read to kids at Harbor Children's Center and learned that a turtle with drumsticks can make a 6-year-old laugh hard enough to change the weather. Inside his chest, I ran into Aunt May, who said, "You look lighter," like she was reporting the forecast. Some nights I drove without a destination, just to feel my life move without a chase car. Most days I thought about Lila and didn't write speeches in my head, because speeches are theater, and what she asked for was the opposite. One evening, I waited outside her building, with nothing polished, to say she stepped out in a green dress, with a plan that did not include me. "Give me 1 hour," I said, "not to win you, to tell you the truth without asking for anything." She studied me, then nodded. I took her to the pocket garden behind the library, where the hydrangeas don't know who you are, and the benches don't care. I didn't know who I was when I wasn't protecting myself. I told her I treated your request for honesty like a threat instead of a gift. "I'm sorry," I showed her a photo of a kid named Theo drumming on my knee. I told her therapy wasn't a PR move, delegation wasn't a vacation, it was rehab from control. "How do I know this isn't charm wearing sincerity like a mask?" she asked. "You don't," I said so. "Don't believe me today. Set boundaries that are inconvenient. Take your time, make me tell the truth when it doesn't flatter me." She walked to the hydrangeas, breathed, turned back with tears she didn't hide. "I missed you," she said, and it felt like a first breath after too long under. "I missed you too." I said, "If we try, we go slow, no hiding, no turning each other into ladders. And when I get scared, I tell you I'm scared instead of turning into a magician with a Rolodex. And when your world overwhelms me, I say it. Instead of pretending I'm cool," she smiled, small and real. "Dance with me," I said. "There's no music," she laughed. "There's music everywhere if you listen for it," I said. And for once, it didn't sound like a line under the city's hum. We swayed, and I told her the thing I'd been too careful to say. "I love you, not dramatic, not for effect, just true. I tried not to," she said, voice breaking. "But I love you too." So what happens now? Now we stand in rooms that want to sell our story and decide how much they get for free. Now we miss a gala because a kid's piano recital matters more. Now we disappoint people who thought they had a right to our time and our truth. Now we argue like adults and apologize without the word. If now I tell my board that control is not a strategy, it's a fear, and I'm done steering by it. Maybe we fail, maybe we don't. Maybe the most honest thing I can say on camera is, I don't know, but I know this. When a stranger offered me a lifeline in a room full of phones, I took her hand, and it led me home to a life where love does not require hiding. If you were in Lila's shoes, would hiding wealth or power feel like protection? Or just another kind of lie? Do people who lie by omission, because the world taught them to deserve a second chance when they finally tell the truth? Drop your take in the comments. Tell me where you stand. Tell me a time money twisted a room or honesty pulled it back together. I'll be reading.